I need to be honest with you, because the time for half measures and polite conversation is rapidly coming to a close. For more than a decade, I have been preparing quietly, operating in the shadows of the prepping community, and there is something I rarely talk about with other people who claim to be ready for the worst. While most folks rush to buy the same 50-pound bags of white rice, the same pinto beans, and the expensive freeze-dried meals from the same 3 or 4 warehouse stores, I have been slowly building a reserve of foods that almost no one pays attention to. It is a strategy born not out of a desire to be different, but out of a desperate need to be effective. What still amazes me is that during recent supply chain disruptions, when the usual prepper staples vanished within hours, these specific foods were still sitting untouched on the shelves. Nobody wanted them. Some of them cost only a few dollars, yet they outperform many of the expensive alternatives people swear by. One of them has been used for thousands of years, costs almost nothing, and can outlast generations when stored correctly. The truth is that most people preparing for emergencies all follow the same sources, hear the same advice, and end up buying the same items. That creates a dangerous blind spot in our collective readiness. When a real crisis hits, the most popular foods disappear first. I watched it happen firsthand when shelves were cleared of rice and canned beans in a single morning. Meanwhile, other foods remained fully stocked days later, simply because they were not part of the usual prepper conversation. That experience changed how I think about food storage entirely. It is critical to understand the psychology of the panic buyer versus the strategic planner. The panic buyer operates on instinct and mimicry. They see what others are grabbing and they grab the same thing. This creates a bottleneck at specific points in the supply chain. If you are competing for the same sack of flour as 500 other desperate people in your town, you have already lost a significant tactical advantage. My philosophy has shifted toward the edges of the grocery store, toward the international aisles, and toward ingredients that have sustained peasant populations through famines, wars, and depressions for centuries. These are not the glamorous items you see advertised in glossy survival magazines. They are the workhorses of nutrition, the items that bridge the gap between merely surviving and actually maintaining your health and sanity. One of the simplest and most overlooked items is bouillon cubes. They sound boring and perhaps even trivial, but they are incredibly powerful in a long-term food plan. You have to understand that in a true survival scenario, water is your most abundant resource, but it provides no calories and no comfort. A single cube can turn plain hot water into a rich broth and transform bland rice or beans into something comforting and satisfying. They take up almost no space. You can fit thousands of servings in a shoebox. They last for years, and they provide not only flavor but also sodium and minerals that help prevent dehydration. When you are eating repetitive meals under stress, taste matters more than people realize. This is a concept known as appetite fatigue. If you are forced to eat unseasoned boiled beans for 3 weeks straight, you will eventually reach a point where you simply cannot swallow another bite, even if you are starving. A warm, savory meal can lift morale in a way calories alone cannot. It signals to the primitive part of your brain that you are safe and that you are being nourished. Bouillon cubes quietly sit on shelves during shortages because people underestimate them, which is exactly why they belong in storage. In a grid-down scenario where you are physically exerting yourself, chopping wood, hauling water, or patrolling your property, you will be sweating out massive amounts of salt. If you do not replace that salt, you will suffer from cramping, confusion, and fatigue. The humble bouillon cube is a medical supply as much as it is a food item. Another overlooked staple is nutritional yeast. It may sound like something only health food enthusiasts use, but it is one of the most practical additions to stored food. It has a savory, almost cheesy flavor, and is packed with protein and B vitamins. This is crucial because B vitamins are often the first thing to disappear from a diet consisting heavily of refined grains and stored goods. A deficiency in B vitamins leads to lethargy, depression, and poor cognitive function, 3 things you cannot afford during a crisis. It stores well, requires no refrigeration, and instantly improves the taste of vegetables, rice, soups, and grains. In situations where meals become monotonous, this one ingredient can make the difference between forcing food down and actually enjoying it. It is rarely mentioned in preparedness circles, so it remains easy to find even when other foods are scarce. Imagine a bowl of white rice. By itself, it is fuel. Add a generous dusting of nutritional yeast, and it becomes a savory, rich dish that mimics the satisfaction of cheese. It is lightweight, making it perfect for bug-out bags, and it is incredibly nutrient-dense. You are getting a massive return on investment for the space it takes up on your shelf. Canned coconut milk is another quiet powerhouse that I believe every serious prepper should stockpile. Fat is essential for energy, warmth, and mental clarity, yet many stored foods are extremely low in it. Rice, beans, wheat, and dried corn are all carbohydrates. If you try to survive on them alone, you may run into a condition historically known as rabbit starvation, where the body cannot process the protein and carbs effectively without sufficient dietary fat. Coconut milk provides a dense source of calories and healthy fats in a shelf-stable form. It can be added to rice, beans, or soups to dramatically increase calories and make meals more filling. It also stores for years when unopened. During cold or high-stress situations, that fat can make the difference between exhaustion and feeling human again. Because it is usually found in international food aisles, it often goes untouched during panic buying. I have walked through decimated grocery stores where the soup aisle was empty, but the Asian food section still had rows of high-fat coconut milk cans. It is versatile as well. You can use it to make curries, to thicken stews, or even as a substitute for dairy milk in baking or coffee. The caloric density is the key here. A single can packs a massive energy punch that would require pounds of vegetables to equal. Potato flour is a food that almost no one talks about, yet it has been used for centuries to survive long winters. Unlike regular wheat flour, which can go rancid or attract weevils if not stored perfectly, potato flour is remarkably resilient. It stores for many years when kept dry and sealed. It is naturally gluten-free and incredibly versatile. Mixed with water and a little salt, it can be turned into simple flatbreads or used to thicken soups and stews. A small amount goes a long way, and it helps meals feel more substantial. When food needs to stretch, that sense of fullness becomes incredibly valuable. Historically, the potato was a famine food. It grows underground, hidden from conquering armies, and provides high energy. The flour version allows you to store that energy in a fraction of the space. It acts as a binder, meaning if you are trying to make patties out of wild game or canned meats, potato flour will hold it all together. It creates a texture that is comforting and familiar, which again plays into the psychological aspect of survival. Ghee may be one of the most valuable fats a person can store. Unlike butter or many vegetable oils, it does not require refrigeration and does not go rancid easily. Rancidity is the enemy of the long-term food storage plan. Vegetable oils, once opened or even just sitting in plastic bottles for a year or two, can oxidize and become toxic. Ghee, which is clarified butter with the milk solids and water removed, is pure fat that is incredibly stable. It can sit at room temperature for years and remain perfectly usable. In hot conditions where other fats fail, ghee stays stable. It provides concentrated energy, enhances flavor, and supports the body when calories are scarce. Historically, it has been stored and used for generations in hot climates like India, and there are records of it remaining edible for astonishing lengths of time. In a long emergency, having a reliable fat like this is priceless. You can fry with it, add it to rice for calories, or even use it on burns or dry skin. It has a high smoke point, making it excellent for cooking over open fires, which may be your only method of cooking in a total grid-down scenario. Dried seaweed is another food that most people overlook entirely, often dismissing it as sushi food or something strange. However, it lasts for an incredibly long time, takes up almost no space, and is rich in minerals that are difficult to get elsewhere. Iodine, which supports thyroid function and energy levels, is especially important. In a landlocked environment, or in a situation where fresh greens are unavailable, iodine deficiency can lead to goiters and severe metabolic issues. A small amount of dried seaweed added to meals can prevent deficiencies that lead to fatigue and mental fog. Because it is not part of mainstream emergency food lists, it remains widely available even when other shelves are empty. It is also packed with umami flavor, that savory depth that makes water-based soups taste like they were made with meat. You can crumble it into rice, toss it into soups, or eat it as a salty snack to replace electrolytes.
It is essentially a multivitamin from the ocean that never spoils. Chia seeds may look small and insignificant, but they are one of the most efficient survival foods available. They contain protein, healthy fats, and fiber, and they absorb water, helping the body stay hydrated longer. When food is limited, anything that helps you feel full for longer stretches is a major advantage. They require no cooking and can be added to almost anything or eaten on their own when necessary. When mixed with water, they form a gel that slows digestion, providing a steady release of energy rather than a sugar crash. Historically, they were prized by Aztec warriors for endurance and energy during long campaigns, and modern research supports that reputation. You can sprinkle them on oatmeal, mix them into flour for baking, or just soak them in water to make a nutrient-dense pudding. They are also incredibly space efficient. A single jar contains thousands of calories and massive amounts of omega-3 fatty acids, which are critical for brain health and decision-making. In a crisis, your ability to think clearly is your most important asset, and chia seeds fuel the brain. High-quality instant noodle blocks from Asian markets are another morale-saving food. I am not talking about the cheapest, distinctively orange packets found at convenience stores that turn to mush in seconds. I am referring to the sturdier noodles with richer seasoning, often found in the import aisle. These noodles cook quickly, requiring little fuel. Fuel conservation is a massive part of preparedness that novices overlook. If you have to boil dry beans for 3 hours, you are wasting precious propane or wood. Noodles that cook in 3 minutes are a tactical advantage. They provide variety when people are tired of the same meals. In prolonged emergencies, boredom with food can affect mood, judgment, and motivation. Having something familiar and comforting can stabilize emotions more than people expect. These noodles are often ignored during shortages because many shoppers never think to look for them, or they view them as junk food. However, in a survival situation, calories are calories, and a hot bowl of spicy noodles can change your entire outlook on a cold, miserable day. Textured vegetable protein is a lightweight, shelf-stable source of protein that rehydrates into something similar to ground meat. It stores for many years and provides a dense protein source without the weight or cost of canned meat. Canned meat is heavy, expensive, and hard to rotate. Textured vegetable protein is dry, light, and extremely cheap. When added to soups, sauces, or grains, it stretches meals and supports muscle and energy needs. It absorbs the flavor of whatever it is cooked in, so if you use those bouillon cubes we discussed earlier, the protein will taste like beef or chicken. It has been quietly used by hikers and long-term planners for decades, yet remains largely unknown outside those circles. You can use it to make chili, tacos, or pasta sauce, maintaining a semblance of normal family meals even when the grocery stores have been closed for months. Maintaining muscle mass is critical for the physical demands of survival, and this is the most cost-effective way to store protein for the long haul. Powdered milk, when stored correctly, is another invaluable staple. Repackaged in airtight containers with oxygen removed, it can last for decades. It provides calcium, protein, and comfort foods that are otherwise difficult to replace. Being able to make simple baked goods or creamy dishes can restore a sense of normalcy during difficult times, especially for families with children or elderly members. Milk is a comfort food, and the lack of it is felt deeply. Non-fat powdered milk stores the longest because fat is what causes spoilage, but you can also find whole milk powders that have been nitrogen flushed for longevity. It allows you to make sauces, puddings, and creamy soups. It adds protein to breads and pancakes. It is a fundamental building block of cooking that opens up hundreds of recipes that would otherwise be impossible with just water and grain. Hard winter wheat berries form the backbone of a truly long-term food plan. Unlike flour, which has a shelf life of perhaps 6 months to a year before it begins to degrade, whole wheat berries can be stored for 3 decades or more and still be viable. They provide dense calories, strong nutrition, and incredible versatility. They can be cooked whole like rice for a chewy, hearty porridge, sprouted for fresh greens to combat vitamin C deficiency, or ground into flour for fresh bread. With even a simple hand-powered mill, they allow for ongoing food production when stores are empty. This is the difference between a short-term stockpile and a generational survival plan. Wheat berries are the seed of life. By storing the whole berry, you are protecting the nutrients inside the hard outer shell.
When you grind it, you release those nutrients. Commercial flour has the germ removed to make it shelf stable, which removes the best nutrition. Grinding your own wheat gives you the full nutritional profile exactly when you need it most. Sprouting them is also a key tactic. In the dead of winter with no fresh vegetables, sprouted wheat berries provide the vitamins necessary to prevent scurvy and maintain immune system health. The common thread among all these foods is that they are not trendy. They are not heavily marketed or pushed by the same voices everyone listens to on the internet. Because of that, they remain available longer, cost less, and often perform better than the foods people panic buy in a frenzy. Preparing well is not about following the crowd. It is about thinking ahead, understanding nutrition, and choosing foods that support both the body and the mind when conditions are hard. These are not theoretical ideas I am sharing with you. They are items I actually keep, use, and rotate because experience has shown me that quiet, overlooked foods are often the ones that carry you through when everything else disappears. The true prepper is not the one with the most gear, but the one with the most foresight. When the shelves are bare and the lights go out, it will not be the freeze-dried stroganoff that saves you. It will be the sacks of wheat, the cans of ghee, and the knowledge of how to turn simple ingredients into life-saving meals. This is the strategy of the gray man, the one who survives because he looked where others did not. I urge you to look at your own supplies today. Are you holding what everyone else is holding, or do you have the hidden reserves that will withstand the test of time? The choice is yours, but the window to make that choice is narrowing every single day.